of our live calls before. My name is Kate, and I am a licensed esthetician. And I also have been with Anne Marie Skincare for almost 8 years now. And I love it. It's great. And so I feel pretty practiced, and I love, love, love getting to talk about skin and getting to talk about our products. Like if I could have, as a child, dreamed of the most fun job, this is it. This is it. So let's dive in. Now, before we go too far, I'd love to invite Grace in to share us what we've got going on as our promo today. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Okay, perfect. My Zoom's a little laggy, so I just want to make sure. Hi, everyone. It's so lovely to see your faces. I'm Grace. Today we're offering 25% off site-wide, which is exclusive just for those of you on the call, which we always love. The code for that is ASCI Live. It does expire at 4 p.m. Pacific time today, and it does not apply towards subscriptions. And if you are watching this at a later date, it is no longer applicable. I'm so sorry, but you should join a live event. And I think that's about it. I'm putting it in the chat right now, but like I said, my Zoom's being a little laggy, so bear with me. But that's what we got going on today.
Yay. Thank you. So 25% off site-wide. So if we talk about other products that you're like, okay, that really it is a genius idea, then you can invest in those. It was like we could do just eye products, but there's so many other pieces to it. So let's dive in. Let's start with puffiness as an issue, as a concern under the eye. So puffiness can show up in kind of different forms. Usually it's either kind of this like puffy, lifted area kind of along the orbital bone. So not necessarily right under the eye, but kind of around the eye that can get really puffy. It also can be this tissue right under the eye that can get puffy. So it can happen for a very, very kind of wide array of reasons. And some of these are skin reasons, and some of these are lifestyle reasons. But either way, these can be showing up on the skin. So, with puffiness, what we want to think about is we want to think about this combination of moving fluid and sustaining taut skin. So, for puffiness specifically, there are a couple things I like. The first one is our gua sha, which we're going to talk about this a couple times, but the gua sha is a jade facial tool that we use on the face so we can gently glide it. Usually you want a lot of slip on the skin, so I'm not going to do a full demo, but this is a really supportive way if you get really puffy under the eye to start to move some of that fluid. Sometimes what can happen with puffiness is we see this kind of puffing and then bagging. It like gets really full, gets really puffy, and then there's like this little lip that happens. And this is where we want to focus on really firming the eye area. So the gua sha, big one, big support, big fan, love very much. I've got this guy. This is the Fruit Ceramide Eye Serum here. This is going to be supportive for so many different eye issues, and so we'll swing back to it a lot. But for this like lip that happens, this like bagging and then lipping, this like puffing forward that happens, this has ceramides and peptides. It also has stem cells, and stem cells are very, very supportive in this more taut, lifted look to the skin. And then it also has a little bit of caffeine. So helping to depuff and helping to sustain more taut skin in that area. Now, the Fruit Ceramide Eye Serum, the texture of it, do I have a towel? Yeah, okay. The texture of it is nice and thin. Let's show you what it looks like here. Nice and thin, very serum-like, right? Hence the name. So it gets to be really important where we put it in our routine because the consistency of this is thin enough that if you try to apply this over your moisturizer, you're probably going to have this kind of like orange look to it. It might pill, it might roll up. So what I suggest with this one is that this goes on right after your toning mist. And honestly, the amount that I pumped onto my hand is even probably more than you would need. I don't think you need that much. But I put it on my ring fingers and then I just pat it around the eye area. From there, you can do your regular routine. But if you try to put it on later in the routine, it oftentimes gets kind of like baggy, a bit pilly, rolly kind of a thing. So for the puffiness, fruit ceramide eye serum is going to be pretty important. Now, I do want to mention some things that are lifestyle factors with puffiness that we maybe do or don't think about. A big one is if you sleep on your stomach. If you're a chronic stomach sleeper, all night long you've got fluid in this area. And so sometimes for folks to really notice a difference in the eye area, all it takes is shifting how they sleep. If you're a side sleeper, that often presents a little bit differently, but a stomach sleeper, yeah, a lot of times we see bagging with stomach sleepers. So think about it if that's you. Other things that can contribute to puffiness, a kind of imbalance of the salt in your body. Maybe you have too much, right? You had a really like, maybe you went out for chips and salsa or something, or kind of too little, right? So it's this dehydration kind of state where you don't have the right salt balance. So those are factors to think about in your journey. Grace, I'm curious if you can also pop in the chat the skin transformation course link, because a lot of what we're going to talk about, we touch on in the skin transformation course. The skin transformation course is a 21-day journey that you get to go through with different videos online that goes into everything from skin detoxification. There's a whole series on supplements, but there's also a series on like facial massage, gua sha, cupping, um, what was the intraoral massage, buccal massage, different products, of course, but it can be really helpful for this kind of broad sweep of working on signs of aging, specifically including the eye area. So Grace will get that there. Now let's talk about drooping and loss of elasticity. So around the eye area, we start to see drooping a lot of times show up first on the upper part of the eye, and it can kind of look like this sagging of the tissue around the eye area. The drooping can also be happening underneath the eye, so that can be part of the bagging that we're seeing there. But underneath this like brow bone lip can be one place that we start to see drooping start to show up. So with that, an ingredient that's going to be so key is stem cells. And in both of our eye products right now, we have stem cells. So I mentioned this one, the Fruit Ceramide Eye Serum. This is one of my absolute favorites. The peptides and the ceramides in this also really help with drooping under the eye. But the other eye product that we have is the anti-aging eye cream. And the anti-aging eye cream is a rich, creamy consistency. It has a lot going on. So we'll again kind of talk about this one quite a bit here. But the anti-aging eye cream also has stem cells in it. So when you're using both of these in your routine, this is a really supportive way to be supporting, sustaining lifted and a lifted look to the skin. If you're already experiencing drooping, if you're already experiencing this loss of volume or that you're starting to see the drooping happening, this is where we're kind of working on combating some of that. So staying in this kind of consistent usage with the stem cells, with the caffeine, with the peptides, that is quite good. We also can notice a difference with drooping with the gua sha. So there are, and you could find them on YouTube. I don't think we have one. We can double check. I don't think that we have a gua sha tutorial that's just eye specific, but they exist out there. And so you can take your stone, and this is ours. stone, Anne Marie Skincare. This is our custom design. I love the shape of this one because you get this kind of like perfect curve right under the eye area that you can kind of just gently sweep back into the hairline. Whenever I'm working with someone and we're going through a gua sha tutorial, I always have them do a before picture and then just do one side because we always see a difference in the kind of lifted like shape of that eye area. But you can also take this along the forehead here. So again, I'm not going to do a whole thing because I don't have a bunch of, you want to have slip on the skin. I don't really want to tug too much. But getting into the brow bone with your gua sha. Also, this particular stone, if you can see, has this little lip feature, which is really helpful for this kind of like lifted motion here. And we do go through that little part in the skin transformation course. So this is going to be supportive for um, drooping as well. Okay, see a couple questions, so I want to answer those, but I haven't forgotten you, those with the dark circles and those with the creasing around the sides of the eyes. Let me scroll back up. Okay, Grace answered that question. Okay, then can you use the hydrate serum on your eyelids? So by the hydrate serum, are we talking about the booster? This guy? And mm, yes and no. I'm going to assume that we are talking about Hydrate, the booster. So Hydrate is a product booster. We mix it into something else. This mixes really nicely with the eye products. So in that sense, yes, you can mix a little bit of this with the eye serum. You can mix a little bit of this with the eye cream. I generally don't recommend that we put the hydrate directly on the skin anywhere. This one is unique from the other boosters. We've got Brighten and Revitalize in that it doesn't have a lot of activity with it, but because this is a booster, what this one does is it is kind of enhancing an existing product. The hydrate itself only has hyaluronic acid peptides, which are nice, and a little bit of aspen bark. And hyaluronic acid is a humectant, which means that it seeks moisture out in its environment and pulls it to it so it can plump areas up. But if we put this directly on the skin versus mixing it into something else, sometimes what can happen is it will pull moisture from its environment. So if I put a little bit of this on my eyelid, it's going to pull the moisture from the eyelid. Now, not everybody experiences a negative effect, but it can make the skin feel drier, putting it directly on the skin. So to that, I would say if you want that effect, mix the hydrate into one of the eye products. For a really long time, I would mix the hydrate and the eye cream together, and that is super luscious. On the topic of creasing around the eyes, the eye cream is amazing. The texture itself is so gorgeous. I'll show you what the feel of that one looks like. And you can see it's got a little bit more creaminess to it than the serum. It is really lush and really soft. Also smells awesome. But if you've used our products, that probably doesn't surprise you. It's very supportive for creasing. So one of the ingredients in there is CoQ10, and CoQ10 is a great skin strengthener. So when we're experiencing repeated facial expressions, like smiling, which what a gift to have, this can be helpful in sustaining more skin resiliency. So the CoQ10 in the eye cream is great. But on the topic of hydrate, when we mix the hydrate into the eye cream, you kind of enhance some of the plumping effect of it. So that's a good question. Okay, I'm going to come into some of these more questions here. Should I use the one with coffee at night? And does the caffeine absorb and keep one awake? I have been asked this before. I've never experienced it, and I'm very sensitive to caffeine. I don't drink coffee. I very infrequently drink caffeinated tea. So anytime I have caffeine, even if I don't know it and I have it like kind of as a byproduct of cacao or chocolate or something, I respond to it, and I don't notice it with the eye cream. I think I will add maybe the disclaimer that with the caffeine in it, there's always the chance. And so if you've been like medically advised to avoid caffeine, then be aware that that could happen. But I don't experience the caffeine being at a high enough percentage that it affects my sleep or my mood or at functions like caffeine in the body. So um, that's the yeah, that's my response to that. I still recommend it at night, and I have yet to have anyone follow up and be like, actually, it's keeping me awake. So um, yeah. Okay, so Chrissy, what would help with eczema or dry eyelids? So I was wondering when we were going to get here. We don't have this yet, but I'm about to tease you hard. Here, the next month or so, we are launching an eye balm and it is so soft. If your eyes are itchy, if your eyes are dry, if your eyes are sensitive, the consistency of this, so I'll show you a little bit on the back of my fingernail here, is really, really rich and smooth. And if you want to get on the wait list, definitely do. Grace, you can pop that in the chat. She probably already has. She's so on it. But this is so incredibly moisturizing for the eye area. And then the ingredients that we've packed this with are also very, very supportive for things like creasing. So for the fine lines on the sides of the eyes, when that becomes something that is more exaggerated or more pronounced, this can be something that is particularly helpful. And, I'll own, I have this one and I still am working through like, do I want to use all three products? Do I want to layer? Which ones am I going to layer? I tend to usually use the eye balm in the evening, but you certainly could use it in the morning. But that richness, oh my gosh, the way my eyes feel in the morning after is just like, yeah, cannot say enough about. Okay, so Shauna has asked, do you put these on eyelids? So let me answer that. When I'm applying eye products, let me just demo here. I typically only stick to the orbital bone. And I want to maybe try to do a little bit of hydrate, although my hydrate might be empty, so we'll see. But let me show you what that looks like. Now I'm misting along my eyes here because when I do my routine, I have my skin dampened. That's my preferred way to do it. It's not required, but it works and it just absorbs so differently. So I'm going to take my eye cream here. I'm going to put a little bit in the kind of center of my hand because I want to mix some hydrate with it. Maybe hydrate might be gone. Is a booster? Is a little bit. Okay, well, we're going to pretend because my hydrate's empty. But what we would do is drop a little bit of that into it and take my ring finger and I pat this along the orbital bone. And then I get a nice kind of even sweep and gently blend that around. I don't bring it up to my lash line. I don't bring it onto my eyelid. Now, I want to add that if you do, it's not wrong, if that's your preferred way to do it. But the tissue around the eye is so thin, it's like tissue paper. And if you've ever taken tissue paper and kind of dunked it in water, you know that it pulls that moisture up. And the eye area is the same. So pretty much anything that you apply around this very, very delicate skin gets pulled into it. And that's the same for the eyelid. So if you're working with drooping, you might take it, a little bit further on the underside of the orbital bone, but I still am not taking it all the way onto my eyelid. Again, it's not hurting you if you do, but most likely you're using more product than you need, and I would hate for you to blast through your product when you could have extended the life of that a little bit more. So that's how I apply really all of it, honestly, but that one was the anti-aging eye cream. Okay. Carrie, I wear glasses and it seems my serum moisturizer gets on my lenses. Any suggestions? Ooh. I'm wondering if it's like there's a transfer that's happening. I don't know how big your lenses are, but that's the only thing I could really kind of sort through is that it would be touching there. Um, there's a couple of ways you could go about it. You could wait longer after applying the eye cream and then putting your glasses on. It could be also where you're putting the eye cream in your routine. And so you might play with that. So if you have, or this is your serums and moisturizers. So it's all of it. So all the products. Um, Either way, I'm going to share a tip. So when I was putting the eye products on just now, I misted my eye area. What you might try if you haven't already, Carrie, is before you apply any of your serum, your moisturizer, your eye products, is misting the skin generously and then applying those while skin is dampened. Because sometimes what can happen is if you're applying products to bone dry skin, is it might not be absorbing as deeply or as thoroughly as we want them to. Because what we want is we want for your oils, for your serums, for all of this to absorb into the skin and then for there to be no transfer. So like, for my skin, I'm trying not to touch where I just put the eye cream, but for my skin, I have oil on, I don't have like transfer onto my hands. I would go lay on a pillow. Like, don't worry about it getting on my clothes. Like, we want this to be integrated into the skin so that you aren't getting this kind of, first of all, like shiny look, but dry feel. But second of all, this transfer that can come up when we've got product on the face. So if you aren't already doing that, if you aren't already applying that while skin is dampened, try it. Give it a shot. Iris, I am caffeine sensitive and do not do any caffeine and have no issues with the eye cream at night. Okay, there it is. Thank you, Iris. Iris. Um, oh, okay, we're all excited about the eye balm. Renee, so yes, we do. Yes, I do recommend that we mix hydrate with another product. Hydrate is a booster, and hydrate especially can be a little bit. hmm, tricky because it doesn't feel when you apply it to the skin like it is particularly intense. It's not exfoliating. Although hyaluronic acid is an acid, it's a humectant, and so it is a moisturizer for the skin. And you may have applied it directly to the skin and found that you don't notice anything, in which case that's great. But for some people, when they apply the hydrate straight, it pulls the moisture from their skin. So they actually end up feeling significantly drier. Because when we think about hyaluronic acid, if we think about hyaluronic acid in something like the anti-aging serum, this is a full-bodied serum. So there's hyaluronic acid, but there is also aloe vera juice. We've also got different skin softeners and brighteners. There's a lot more going on. So when this gets applied to the skin, the hyaluronic acid gets to work with the plumpers that are both in the product, or if you've got the toning mist on the skin, it gets to work with the toning mist. It's not pulling moisture from the skin. If we apply just the hydrate, it can leave the skin drier. So again, if you're using it like that and you are in love with it, I won't take it from you. But that's something that can come up with the hydrate is that it can dry skin out. Generally, all of the boosters we want to mix into something else. They're designed really, really simply and very, very concentratedly. They are very concentrated. And so we want them to be an addition to an existing product. That's why we call them boosters. Which is better for moisture and prevention of creasing and wrinkles, the eye cream or the eye balm? So I will say that the eye balm is going to be better for rich, rich moisture. The way this moisturizes the skin is really profound, honestly. And I'm gonna put it out there. We haven't launched it yet, so I don't know. But I bet that there are people who use this as a moisturizer, a facial moisturizer. Folks who are really, really dry. We'll see. I can't predict the future, but I have a sense that folks will try it for that, which we might take as information to launch a form of this as a moisturizer. I am not saying we are. Um, but the eye balm, I think, is going to be better for moisture and really softening creasing. The eye cream is our best bet right now. So the eye balm, this launches in the next month or so. It's the end of August. Yeah, a month or so. Um, But the eye cream is one of the best right now. Now, something that the eye cream has that the eye balm doesn't is stem cells. The eye cream has this rich, dense portion of it that is stem cells, and stem cells are really supportive for sustaining very lifted, very taut skin. So it might work out best to layer them. Maybe you layer them both in the evening, or maybe every time you wear your eye products, you layer them. So you're getting the best of both, or you find that you like one better than the other, and that's fine too. Can the balm cause milia? So I wouldn't expect that it would. Um, it probably could for certain skin types. So milia, if you aren't aware, milia is milia presents, it often looks a lot like a whitehead, and it'll usually show up where the skin is starting to thin. So it can be around the eye, it can be along the hairline, it can be kind of on the sides of the nose, but it's this like kind of white, almost hard, doesn't really extract off, kind of stays around forever, type of a little bump on the skin. And what milia is, what causes milia is there's a buildup of dead skin cells that isn't happening in a pore, but also does not get exfoliated off. So either it doesn't naturally slough off, or it is not exfoliated off via, another form of exfoliation. And so new skin grows over it. So milia is kind of this trapped calcified ball of dead skin cells, cute, that can show up, and they can be larger, so it can be like a pretty significantly sized milia, or it can be very small and barely noticeable. Um, Now, the balm is like all of our products, a non-comedogenic product, so it's not going to be congesting pores. It's not going to be, but something that would exacerbate breakouts. But if you aren't dry around the eye area, don't feel like you need that much moisture, it might not benefit you in the same way that the other eye products would. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say no, it doesn't cause milia. But if you already experience milia and you don't have dry skin, I don't think it's going to be supportive for that process. So yeah, cool, cool, cool. Okay, I know I'm behind on questions. Colleen, would any of the three be good for using on the 11s and or smile lines as well as the eyes? Hmm. Hmm. My Okay, here are the thoughts that come up. My assumption is that for all of these areas, 11s, smile lines, uh, yeah, 11s and smile lines, is that the skin is not going to necessarily receive these amazingly, unless you're really, really dry, and then maybe. But these three products are essentially designed for super, super thin skin. So my expectation would be that it could be okay and it's worth a shot, but it also could be something that either doesn't really absorb very well or can break you out if it's being applied to other areas. Again, not necessarily. And if you're dry, then it might actually be pretty good. But for 11s or smile lines, what I will say is the skin on the top of the lip is another area where the skin is super thin. And so all of the eye products very easily translate to being supportive for the skin on the lip. So if you have the lines that show up here, any one of those, particularly the eye serum, but any one of those can be helpful for softening that. What mist are you using? I use the one with Immortelle. The label says it's supposed to dry first. Is that the way? That is a way. I used the rose hydrosol. I honestly use the botanical hydration mist most of the time, but I just really love the smell of the rose hydrosol. You have options when you're applying your toning mist, and letting it dry is definitely one of them. I personally don't. I leave it damp throughout the whole routine. And it's kind of like a hack. So it's not necessarily the standard of application, but it can change things. And so if you've got a toning mist at home, I definitely recommend exploring it. Try both ways. On a Monday, try letting it dry in between. On a Tuesday, leave it damp as you apply your serum, moisturizer, eye products, and see how you like the way it feels. And you might find that, yeah, that's actually what you prefer or not. So it is a way to do it. Colleen, my eyes are really sensitive to products migrating into them and causing irritation. So I try to avoid getting too close and still get good results. Love that you're still getting good results. That makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I mean, that can definitely happen. And for a lot of us, if we've ever tried like a particular concealer or maybe other eye products, just anything in this eye area can start to kind of like, you can see it kind of move a little bit. Emily, so our sh skin shouldn't be shiny at all. I think we're talking about the mist and applying the products. I like my skin looking dewy, but I don't. It's if your skin looks like it is actively oily, if it looks like there is an excess of oil on the skin, you may have used too much oil, or the oil might not be absorbing. So I suppose it would depend on how you define like your skin being oily because I absolutely love my skin looking like really radiant. I don't mind if it looks kind of shiny, but I want that effect without the experience of there being a buildup of oil on my skin, which is what we get with the products. What we get with the oils is if we're using them correctly, if we've got the right weight oil for our skin, it should be absorbing in and promoting this like radiant glow within the skin versus needing to be like really shiny on the surface of the skin. I'm not sure if that supports answering that question, but cool. Okay, so you've never had that experience with the hyaluronic acid. I don't want to take from you something that's working. So if you're applying it directly to the skin and it's great, then I won't stop you. And hyaluronic acid is an amazing skin plumper, but especially for drier folks, I do want the awareness that that is a way it can go, and that it could feel drier. So, Shauna, I get pimples in my eyebrows and I have been using an astringent just on my eyebrows. Is it working? Do you find that that's working? That makes sense. Pimples just in the eyebrows. I'm curious. I'm checking on the time. Yeah, we got lots of time. Are they showing up anywhere else, or is it legitimately just in the eyebrows? Um, is it in the hair in any way? And yeah, is it something that came on? The reason I ask is because sometimes I can see, I don't remember if it's mites or what it is, but it's like, yeah, just a little organism that can kind of cause little rashes or breakouts just in areas of hair. And on men, sometimes it's like in a mustache, but in women, it's oftentimes in the brows, sometimes in the lashes. Um, so yeah, is the astringent supporting that? Is that working for you? And Donna, so do you use the balm at night? That's how I have been using it. I have been doing the eye serum and the eye cream in the morning, and then I have been doing the eye serum and the eye balm at night. And the smell of it, I wish I could waft it in like through to you guys. It is gorgeous. It's like, yeah, just so soft and so pretty. Like it's kind of rosy, but also kind of mango-y. I'll let your brain do with that what it will, but yeah, the feel of it is really great. Really, really good. Um, okay, cool. Penny was on and Penny had to hop off. Thank you, Penny. Yeah, lots of people do get milia around the eyes. And yeah, good. You've had success extracting milia. Most of the time to extract a milia, the skin needs to either be thin enough that you can kind of scratch it off, or you might have to have either yourself or a professional kind of create a release for it. So usually what I recommend if I'm working with somebody and they're finding that the um, milia is pretty stubborn, that they seek out a professional in their area that can use a lancet and create a little hole and extract it off. One of our products that has been pretty supportive for milia, if milia is concerning for folks, is the lactic toner. And this works by exfoliating the skin. So we're naturally thinning that skin just little by little. And then we're seeing just more access to be able to extract it off, to scratch it off, to scrub it off, however that is presenting with the lactic. Okay, cool. Nancy, you got the wait list for the eye balm. Is milia what the little bumps people get on the triceps of the arms? Typically, no. And I forget what that's called. The short version is KP. Uh, I'd have to look it up. But it's different than milia. That's usually pretty easily supported with a regular exfoliation. I don't get it like I used to, but I like the Kaolin micro exfoliant, which is a facial scrub, but is also very, very nice on the body. Yeah, it uses this really rich bamboo, crushed bamboo stem, and that texture is very, very scrubby. Rubbing that on the back of the arms can be super supportive. There are lots of different ways you can work with that. Cool. Okay, Chris learned something new. Oh, thoughts on using witch hazel as a mister. So witch hazels, it can be very supportive for the skin. I think for our client base, we've never really leaned into toners that are um, more supportive for like a more astringent angle. The closest we have is the lactic toner, but the lactic toner still has hyaluronic acid. It still is supporting, hydrating, and balancing the skin. So, um, yeah, that we have not had any call to launch one. Um, so we don't have a witch hazel mist. We do have our rosemary toning mist. So, if you are somebody who's really oily and in the market for a toner, it is very, very light. It's an aloe vera juice base. And then we steep into it rosemary, which I'm sure everyone's surprised with by the name, neem, white willow bark. Oh gosh, that might be it. Neem and white willow bark. So it's really supportive for cutting through and kind of absorbing excess oil on the skin. You can also use it in the hair. We have some customers who use it because rosemary can be very supportive for follicle growth. I'm not promoting that as a hair growth product, but we do have some clients who use it in the hair. So just alternative uses for that. But yeah, I mean, if you use witch hazel as a mist and you're liking that, again, I love that. That's great for you. Oh, yay, Robin. Robin has the rose hydrosol and you love the scent of it. Yeah, the rose hydrosol is really, the scent profile is really unique. Shauna, it's just the eyebrows. Okay. So yeah, Shauna, if the estrogen's working. Okay, let me get to this question here. Yes, I used the rose hydrosol toner today. This one, Nancy. Most of the time, I use the botanical hydration mist for context, I guess. When we launched the Rose Hydrosol back in the spring. This was the one I used almost all the time, but I have found that with my dry skin, the Botanical Hydration Mist still supports it a little bit more directly. So I'll use this every once in a while for sure, and I love the smell. So sometimes I'll just like mist it into my hair for a treat later. But don't use it as often as the Botanical Hydration Mist. Cool. Okay, so the astringent seems to be working, and you're wondering if that's okay for the eyes. I don't know exactly what is in your astringent, so it's hard for me to say. I would say with it being the eyebrow area, you're probably pretty safe. That's not super close to any like direct openings, so I think that you're okay. Yeah, and if you aren't noticing any adverse effects, then it seems like that is working for you. Cool. Okay. Wow. Sounds lovely. Let me scroll all the way. We went in a whole question journey, which I loved and I am here for. But I want to scroll back up and see what some of our issues were because I want to make sure that I have addressed what I wanted to. So we talked about bags, we talked about puffiness, we did talk about wrinkles, loss of elasticity. Oh, darkness. the darkness under the eyes. So dark under eyes show up, they can show up as a form of sun damage. That's possible. Most of the time, though, darkness under the eyes, what we're witnessing is a thinning of the capillary wall underneath that is causing us to be able to see through to this kind of like darkened blood flow. Now, it is not always something that's kind of like permanent or long term. Sometimes darkness under the eyes is super situational, which I'm sure, all experienced. Lack of sleep, travel, stress, lots of these things can impact how your whole body is, but including the skin under the eye. Something that is very supportive are very specific vitamins. So vitamin K is one that can be helpful for sustaining, promoting and supporting the strengthening of the capillary wall. So if you are someone who experiences darkness and kind of these like dark circles under the eyes, the eye cream is one of my absolute favorites for that. Yeah, the richness of the herbs in here really can help with the depth of the darkness under the eyes. Now, there is there's a lot more that can be presenting through dark circles. It can be allergies, but it can be something going on within the body. If you have very, very chronic dark circles and you get the right amount of sleep and you haven't had big life changes and you haven't had, there's nothing else obviously noticeable going on in your life, it could be worth your while to do certain blood tests and get that checked out. Um, yeah, and just to see what might be underlying. But I will say that the eye cream, if what you're experiencing is the simple progression of time, the natural thinning of certain areas of the body, including the capillary wall, the eye cream is the one that I would recommend to support kind of softening some of that. And we talked about the application, we talked about when we do it, so that all stands. Okay, a couple more questions have come in. Yeah, okay, Livy, we got you. It will be on the YouTube page. Gua sha for under the eyes. Gua sha is something that we love and have recommended. So, MW, if you've just hopped on, we've been talking a little bit about our specific gua sha stone. This particular shape is really nice to kind of provide this like depuffing, puffing especially. So puffing and drooping with fluid under the eyes. Normally I would have like oil on my skin and really be able to kind of gently be moving that, flipping it, doing it on the other side. That's all awesome. For someone who mentioned 11s though, so this creasing that shows up, here in between the brow, I actually really like the gua sha and working with pressure points kind of under the brow. Just even doing this is like feels so good. But this can really help kind of release this like cross tension here. So if you get this creasing that's happening, working with the muscular structure and where this kind of like insertion origin area, and you can move it along. There's another pressure point in just a little bit. Um, but this is around the eye area and can be supported there with some of that. And you can definitely use it for things like smile lines and on the sides of the face. Um, yeah, we mentioned earlier our skin transformation course, which has a pretty thorough journey with the gua sha, as well as a lot of other pieces um, that can be helpful for the overall face. So, did I say it's okay to spray the mist or hydrosol directly on the area beneath the eyes? Yep. So when I do my toning mist, I literally am doing my whole face. Now, I'm not concentrating it under the eyes. I am misting my face. When I did the eye area just now, I still kept the distance, so I kind of went across the eyes and focused a little bit, more on the outer sides. But this is perfectly safe to land on the eyes. It's perfectly safe to land on the lashes. It's perfectly safe to land on the eyelids, all of that. So yes, the hydrosol or the toning mist, you can apply those to the overall face. And that is awesome. That's perfectly good. Uh, uh, yeah, of course, Robin. Very, very helpful. Very happy. What other questions can I answer about eye areas? We've got a good 10 minutes, so I want to make sure that this feels supportive. Gua sha. Uh, yeah, we've got the two eye products. We've got the eye balm. I'm obsessed with the eye balm. Can you give the eye balm wait list? Oh yeah, the eye balm wait list is in here somewhere. But yeah, I'm sure Grace can share that again. If you, for some reason, miss it, so let's say you didn't click the link and then the call ends, you can also find that on our website under the like eye products listing. And that'll you'll be able to find that. So it says sold out, but it hasn't launched yet. And then you can get on the wait list and there's more information about it and just a little bit about the product and some of the things that are in it. So yeah, that wait list will be pretty great. We're pretty excited about this one. I mean, we're always excited when we launch something new, but this has been such a longed for product, and I think it's going to really support so many people. Yeah, I just work with so many people who have dry eyes or they have dry enough skin that the area around the eyes can get patchy, flaky, itchy, and even without that, so I don't have that particular concern. I have dry skin, but I don't have like, flaky eyes. The just softness is unbelievable waking up mornings after. Yeah, this is one that I kind of feel like when we do our first launch, I don't know how first batch will be, but I can see it being like one that we sell through really quickly, and then it's like, ooh, out of stock for a while. Maybe not. We've got a good team and we're pretty prepared for some stuff like that. But sometimes we do that. So that happened with our restorative facial cream. When we launched it, it was like such a doorbuster. Everyone was so excited, and then it was sold out for a while. So yeah, Shauna, the even good eye drops bother your eyes. I am hopeful for you too. This is one that we're excited to launch. And we do these live calls, but we do launch calls also. And so when we are actually preparing the launch of this, we will have a call like this that'll be exclusively focused on going into all of the things about that specific balm, the craft process, all of the ingredients, all of it. So yeah, there will be quite a bit more information that we release with it. Mm. Yeah, Kay, that's a big part of it is that it's really helpful with creasing and fine lines. Kay has asked in the chat, she shared, if the eyeball makes skin so soft, will it help with fine lines? And yes, that is a significant way that this supports the skin. It supports the moisture period, but especially with creasing. And especially with the fine lines that show up on the sides of the eyes. So yes, yeah, we're really looking forward to how people experience that one. And like I mentioned, this one is new to me, obviously not out yet. So I'm still exploring where it goes. Do I want to put all three on? Do I want to do just two? I've been doing just two. As obsessed with skincare products as I am, sometimes there you can have too many on your face at once. So, but it could be for the best if I'm working with somebody who's really wanting to change their eye area, that might be part of the protocol that we lean into is all three products. So to be determined, certainly, certainly. Trying to think of what other questions I get asked a lot in consultations, which shameless plug, I do one-on-one consultations. Grace, if you want to share a link to the consult, I'll share a coupon code. I'll find the coupon code. If that is of interest to you, the group consultation or the one-on-one consultations are where we like dive into all of the things with your skin and consultation coupon code. 50% off. There, I've got a coupon code for half off if you want to hang out with me. Um, Question, Cassie. I accidentally scratched my face right under my orbital bone. Any ideas what I might use to prevent scarring? Herbs. So big things with scarring, it's hard. It's yeah. if we're under the orbital bow and the skin is fairly, our normal facial skin, big things are sun protection and keeping the skin soft. So whatever moisturizer you're using, maybe upping it or maybe reapplying it throughout the day, and sun protection. I'm sure that there are herbs that can be specifically supportive for preventing scarring. Um, and there's also like different types of scarring, which I want to be mindful of how I speak to it because, my realm of expertise is my aesthetics license, but there's scarring in the form of a darkened area of the skin. So it's like sun damage, skin damage. There's scarring in the form of different textured skin, which these can be how these can be showing up or how this might affect the skin can be impacted by how deep that scratch is and yeah, how the skin is already responding to it. But anytime I've worked with somebody who's working, on scar prevention of any degree, keeping that skin super soft and keeping the skin protected from the sun are the things that I would recommend, which might mean you have to be extra mindful and carry your Sun Love, with you in your purse or something so you don't get stuck somewhere. But yeah, if there's already been damage to the skin, UV exposure is going to exacerbate what's going on. So. Very good, very good. Okay. Cool. Okay, so Grace has shared the link to the one-on-one consultations with me. So as we've been talking, if you find that that would feel like it would meet a need for you, it is a really nice opportunity for us to deep dive into your specific skin, the nuances of your skin. Yeah, just more than just your skin. We talk a lot about lifestyle factors, and so we really get into it. And I've got the coupon code right above it, ASC Meet Kate, which is for 50% off. So if you're finding that is something that can help you out, I'd love to hang out with you because it's very fun. And then Grace has shared again in the chat that we do have 25% off site wide, and that is just for the call. So we don't have this posted anywhere. This isn't going out in emails. This is just for you guys. And that coupon code is ASCI Live, and it does shut off at 4 o'clock Pacific today. And then, yeah, from there, you can do your shopping and get your discount, load up on some eye products, get on the wait list for the eye balm because we're looking forward to launching that. We don't have the date of the launch call planned yet because we're still finalizing the launch date. So when that's posted, that'll be in the it'll be on the website. So if you know where our events page is, it's under the About menu. You can click on live events and then see what all we've got going on. So we're excited to do these. Any final questions? We've got just a few minutes here. Yay, cool. Happy to, Kimberly. Oh, yeah, I love it, Colleen. Thank you. Awesome, Shelly. Shelly's got some new things coming. Cool. Okay, well, I'm not seeing questions pop in, except for just now. Cassie, what two eye products are you using together? So I have access to the bulb. So what my routine looks like is I use the eye serum in the morning and the eye cream in the morning. So I do my cleanser, my toner, eye serum, facial serum, moisturizer, eye cream. Before you ask, you do not have to do the eye cream after the moisturizer. I like it like that, but you could also put it on before. In the evening, I use my cleanser, my toner, the eye serum, the facial serum, the moisturizer, the eye balm. Now, I do think that when you get the eye balm, that the only place this can go is after the moisturizer. If you're trying to put this on before the moisturizer, I think that the moisturizer is going to have a really hard time absorbing through it. So Yeah, so the eye serum is called the fruit ceramide eye serum. And we kind of got into this earlier in the call. This is a very peptide rich, stem cell rich, ceramide rich eye product that's great for puffing, great for drooping. Um, yeah, really great for supporting a more kind of taut, lifted look around the eye area, sustaining just a super, super strong skin. So that this is the Fruit Ceramide Eye Serum that I'm talking about. And it is different than the anti-aging eye cream, which is this one. Yeah. Good questions. Eye balm is best at night. Yeah, so far, eye balm is a product that we haven't launched yet. We've got a wait list going for it. So I'm still exploring where that goes, honestly. I have enjoyed my results the best applying it at night. It is super, super rich. And so sometimes in the morning, I don't want to wait that long for it to absorb. So I don't put it on in the morning. But that's not to say you couldn't. And I think that there will be folks who have drier skin than I do who might still apply it in the morning. Um, Bridget, I haven't been doing a moisturizer on the eye, just the serum. Is that enough? Yeah, you don't have to use any more than one of these at a time. So if you're only using the eye serum, that's plenty. That's good. Now you can kind of compound your experience. You might expedite some results if you're stacking that with another product, but you don't need it. You don't have to have more than one eye product in your routine. Mm, cool. Yeah, good, Chris. Happy to help. Okay, last call for questions. All right, I'm going to assume we feel complete. Final reminder, you've got the coupon code ASCI live until 4 o'clock today. And otherwise, we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for hanging out, everybody.